In 1901, nearing the end of the Russian Empire, the nation's last monarch, Tsar Nikolai II, fathers a new Grand Duchess, a girl named Anastasia Nikolaevna Romanova. Her birth is at first a disappointment among her extended family, as they had hoped for a proper son to inherit the throne. Regardless, Anastasia is welcomed into the family, along with her sisters Olga, Tatiana, and Maria, as well as her brother Alexei. Despite an arguably harsh upbringing, sleeping on camp cots, taking cold baths, and performing needlework for charity, Anastasia is a lively and energetic child. Court attendants say that the toddler has the greatest personal charm of any child they've ever seen. As if to counter this, she is also exceptionally naughty and mischievous, holding the record for the most punishable deeds in the family. In some cases, her acting out shows as a sign of her clever genius. On one occasion, she combines a camera and a mirror to take her own self-portrait. Just as she is beloved by the family, she cares for them in return, especially for her other sisters. The four of them combine their initials to spell Otma, a secret nickname they'd signed letters with. Yes, Anastasia's life is filled with pleasant moments, and she vows to remain close to her sisters through childbirth and marriage. Together they pray for a good life, free from hatred and fighting. Sadly, such prayers are never answered. Prior to and during the outbreak of World War I, continued losses by the Russian Empire prompt heavy criticism of the Romanov family. The people's once nationalistic pride crumbles as the Tsar takes personal control of the army in 1915. It is a bad step to take, as Nikolai II's military failings cast significant doubt on his reign and the reliability of the empire itself. This is only fueled further when the Tsar takes to commanding the front lines, leaving the nation's rule in the hands of his subordinates. Among them, there is Grigory Rasputin, a peasant and self-proclaimed mystic, who joins the royal court as a healer for the Tsar's son Alexei. Some see him as a prophet, and others as a fraud. Despite rumors of pedophilia, Nikolai's children appreciate Rasputin's presence in the court. In contrast, Russia's citizens detest his influence. Repeated defeats in the war tarnish his reputation, in turn harming the credibility of the royal family. Mishandling of Russia's economy causes a food shortage in the cities, and a rise in costs leads workers to strike and demand for better pay. While not done single-handedly, much of Russia's decay in morale becomes attributed to Rasputin, who is assassinated by a rising rebellious force. To challenge the imperial family, a prominent communist party swells among the discontent. Revolution is at hand, and in February of 1917, revolutionaries invade the palace, capturing Anastasia and her family and putting them under house arrest. In response, Nikolai II abdicates the throne, putting control of the country in the hands of a provisional government. After a bloody struggle known as the Red October, this government is overthrown by a faction known as the Bolsheviks, led by Vladimir Lenin. The royal family is ultimately kept at the House of Special Purpose, unable to leave while the Bolsheviks strive to solidify their reign. Through these trying times, Anastasia remains optimistic. She and her siblings spend their isolation putting on plays for the family, which makes spectators howl with laughter. Even so, this captivity is oppressive. One time, while yearning for some fresh air, Anastasia dares to open the house's painted windows, only to be shot at by a sentry, and she is almost hit. This oppression hits an all-time high during July of 1918, when the Bolsheviks' Red Army fights against the remaining Imperialist Army and other anti-Bolshevik forces of the White Army. The Bolsheviks realize they will lose Yekaterinburg, where the royal family is being held, and to prevent an imperial rescue, they resort to execution. Anastasia, her family, and even her pets are brutally slaughtered by the Bolsheviks. The soldiers hack her body to pieces before burning her and burying the ashes. Yet, even as her clothes are stripped off, her body chopped apart, and her ashen remains planted in the ground, she is spiritually conscious enough to understand what is happening. While she is glad to still be together with her siblings in death, she makes certain those soldiers will never again enjoy a moment of peace. Unbeknownst to many, the Russian Empire is secretly contracted with a familiar, a spiritual monster named V. Publicly, the specter is only described in Slavic folklore and the Russian horror novella of the same name, written by Gogol. What few realize is that V indeed exists, but can only be seen or controlled by the royal family under rare circumstances. Anastasia, sadly, could not see him in life, and yet there was never a time when she did not hear his voice. Whether playing a prank or climbing a tree, she could always hear it. It is only on the verge of death, plagued by growing pain, fear, and a loathing for the soldiers looking down on her in scorn, that she attains the qualifications to contract with V. She yearns to have V kill them all, but the monster is no guardian angel. With seconds left to live, V simply stares at her. While doing nothing to save Anastasia, V haunts the soldiers for the rest of their lives. Anastasia is but an innocent victim to the chaos of the communist revolution in Russia. She neither provoked nor prevented the conflict, and yet her hatred and the summoning of V managed to earn her a place in the throne of heroes. In the modern era, the Chaldea security organization is formed to preserve proper human history. They gather 48 mages as candidates for race shifting, a means of correcting singularities emerging throughout time. Among these mages is a young man named Kadoc. Despite being a mediocre magus whose family lineage is only 200 years old, he has an aptitude for race shifting and is chosen as a member of Team A. While glad to be chosen for his merits, Kadoc feels inferior to his colleagues, who are all genius mages in their own right. Thus, he plans to prove himself through his performance as a Chaldean master, eager to overcome his pessimism and low self-esteem. This eagerness spoils as Lev Liner Flauros, a demon god of Getia, sabotages the first official ray shift, igniting an explosion that causes all the Team A mages to be trapped in their coffins. His chance to achieve glory is crushed in an instant, and an unexpected master, Ritsuka Fujimaru, goes on in his place to preserve the human order. When he learns of this, Kadoc is overwhelmed by frustration and jealousy, losing out to an amateur. On the verge of death, a mysterious presence reaches out to Kadoc and the other masters. They are given a second chance at life, assigned lostbelts and servants to protect them. Kadoc happens to be an alternate Russia plagued by unbearable cold, killing the humans such that only servants, demonic beasts, and a new race called the Yaga can survive. Ivan the Terrible, as a horrific mammoth, rules over the land as a tyrant, mistaking Anastasia for his wife of the same name. Kadoc keeps Ivan at bay through a continued slumber, searching for a way to destroy him and establish Anastasia as king of the Lostbelt. Anastasia agrees to this, setting aside her hateful vengeance for the country that massacred her in order to uphold the desire of the Romanov lineage. Over the time they spend in this frigid land, Kadoc and Anastasia care deeply for one another. These two broken souls feel more complete when together. As a servant, Anastasia hides her friendly, mischievous nature behind a cold cruelty that matches her environment. This is to prevent her loved ones from being harmed again. Her strength comes almost exclusively from her contract with V, granting her the ability to manipulate ice. Her mana consumption is covered by V, which makes her an ideal servant for Kadoc. V possesses the mystic eyes of clairvoyance, used to expose secrets and discover the weak points of the Russian Empire's enemies. She has two noble phantasms, the first being VVV, galloping stare of the all-seeing ghastly eyeballs. In essence, this is the full potential of V's mystic eyes, which can effectively create weaknesses in her enemies where there are none. The second is Sumerki Kremlin, Afterglow, abominable fortress of blood, which allows her to summon a magnificent fortress to defend herself with. More peculiarly, she has a skill named after her former nickname, Shvivzik, or Little Devil. It allows her to manipulate her surroundings for pranks, such as causing victims to trip on cracks in the ground. Even through her torment, she cannot fully abandon her nature. Kadoc, Anastasia, and their allies invade Chaldea, disrupting proper human history. Anastasia freezes Chaldeas, dropping the facility's temperature below -100 degrees. Joined by Ivan's noble phantasm and personal guard, the Oprychniki, Anastasia assaults Ritsuka and the former staff, forcing them to flee to void space in their vehicle, the Shadow Border. Chaldea's remaining force emerges in the Russian Lostbelt and slowly regain their footing by joining the Yaga rebellion against Ivan. Thankfully, this is exactly what Kadoc and Anastasia want. In this endeavor, she is assisted by Rasputin, who has been hiding as a servant using the body of Kire Kotomine, a wicked church executor from proper history. Ultimately, Kadoc and Anastasia turn to Chaldea's servants to successfully topple Ivan's reign, only to betray that assistance in a final effort to save the Lostbelt. Kadoc and Anastasia fight valiantly, but wind up on the losing side. Kadoc rages, refusing to accept defeat from Ritsuka, the one person he aimed to overcome. He opposes Ritsuka to the very end, provoking Ritsuka's servant, Billy the Kid, to open fire. Not wanting her sweet master to die, Anastasia leaps before the bullet and takes it herself. Their long fight to defend the Lostbelt ends in failure, posing a genuine question to Chaldea, of which history truly deserves to thrive. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy this channel, help me beat the algorithm by liking, commenting, and sharing the video, subscribing to OtakuDaiKun, and, most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of my anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content. If you want to support me directly, there are now 3 ways that all provide the same benefits. You can click Join here on YouTube, or join Patreon or Subscribestar for access to exclusive vids and early access. As always, celebrate your fandom.